Hello and welcome to LOLhsc study tips for legal studies. So today I'm going to be going through some tips that doesn't matter if you start doing them now or you've already been doing them the whole time. It'll help improve your marks. Really, for legal studies, these things are vital if you want to get a band 6. Okay, so the first thing, the number one important thing for legal studies band 6 students is LCMD charts. So it's legislation, cases, media and descriptions. So what you need to do is for each topic that you have, say during crime, human rights and family consumers, you have your crime, then you go through like each dot point or each section of it, and you list down each legislation, each cases, each media and their descriptions in a chart form. It's easy to do them like section by section, such as like the criminal investigation process, then the gathering evidence. Like, it's easier to do it in bigger sections than small sections, otherwise you just have a lot of writing and not really won't be as concise as it can be. But really, this is your key to getting a band 6, because without the knowledge of the legislation, cases and media, you won't get a band 6. Because really, any question you get, whether it's your crime or your options, it's going to relate to legislation, cases and media, and you're going to need to use them to support any arguments you make relating to the questions. If you need examples of those, at LOLhsc we have those ready for you to go in the notes. So just go on there and look it up, or just email us if you want me to give you just a sample one. That'll be fine. Point number 2 is teamwork. Teamwork is absolutely key to getting band 6 in legal studies, because not only just in legal studies, in any class you have, because for teamwork you need to bring everyone's marks up. And what is a very good way of doing it is practicing your questions in a group, because one, it not only gives you other perspectives on how to address the question, but 2, it makes sure that everyone's getting the same knowledge and the same perspective, the same cases, same media, same legislation as everyone else. This is the number one thing in any subject, and very importantly in legal studies. The third point is organized notes. In legal studies there is a lot of content to go over. There's a lot of different essay questions that can be given to you. This year there was some put out of the blue that no one was really expecting, but the key thing to that is organized notes. You have to have notes from the start. Don't wait until a month before your HSC exams or a few nights before your exams or assessments. Make sure that you have notes done after your class, after every class. Fill in your notes, or if you need to, buy our notes and they're already there for you. Just read over them, write them down, however you memorize them, just get it done, because unless you have organized notes, you won't memorize the content that you need to. Fourthly, preparation is key. So with your notes, not only your notes but also your teamwork, you need to go over and practice past paper questions, practice multiple choice. They have the multiple choice practice questions online. You have to go through it and practice them, because that is the key preparation. And my fifth point is, the earlier you learn it, the easier it is. Really, the hardest thing to do is the week before the exam, learn something completely new, because you don't have access to your teacher. You don't have time to go back and look up other resources. Really, in the last minute cram, you just have to learn as much as you can, as basic as possible, for you to get 1 or 2 marks out of the 3 or 4. And unlucky for you in legal studies, it's not 3 or 4 mark questions, except for human rights. It's 25, 25 and 15, and then you have your human rights. So the earlier you learn this content, the earlier you learn your legislation, cases and media, the easier it's going to be when it comes to the exams. Just go look at the question and then relate it to all this different information. So really prepare, have your notes ready, go over it over and over again. Now this relates to your essay writing. Point number 6 is draw deductions from your sources. Just because you put down all this legislation, your cases and your media, doesn't mean that you're going to get given marks. If you don't draw deductions from it, saying, because as evident in this source it shows this, or I've given you this information in this source, and this relates to my conclusion from this. Like, you have to give conclusions and deductions from your information you give to them. So don't just list it all down, because you can't just brain dump it on there and go, okay, give me marks because I gave you 10 random pieces of legislation. You can't do that. You have to make qualified and thoughtful conclusions and theses and everything else in your essays. If you don't do that, you go from the band 6 to the band 4, the band 3, or even lower if you don't have many legislation cases in media. And the last point, which a lot of people seem to think they can get away with in legal studies, is making up legislation in cases if you're desperate. Really, don't do it, because band 6 students don't do it. If you want a band 6, which is why you're here looking at this video, is that you have to be prepared. The band 6 kids don't go into the last night needing to, or don't go into the exam really having to bullshit your legislation in cases just to get the band 6. It doesn't work that way, because when it comes to an essay, the markers know the content. They know the content back and forth because they're giving you the marks. So don't make up the legislation, don't make up the cases. Really, if you can't remember what the date is, if you say the legislation is the Crimes Act and you remember it being 1907 instead of 1900 or something like that, you just give it your best guess, but don't write nothing, because if you write nothing, you don't get the chance to be given the marks or the chance of even being correct. Just really write it down, but just don't make it up if you're just making it up out of the blue. Have a guess if you're really desperate. So go over that really legal studies tips. You need your LCMD charts, you need to work in a team with your classmates, have really organized notes, be prepared, start studying from a few weeks before, a few months before your assessments. Don't leave it to the last minute. The earlier you learn it, the easier. If you're trying to learn it in the month before the HSC, you're going to be stressed with all your other subjects. It's going to be impossible to get the band 6 you want. Draw deductions from your sources in your essays. Don't just list it all down. You can use the word thus if you want. Thus is a good word because it shows that you're thinking about your source, not just thinking about your source and applying it to the question, not just brain dumping all your information. And finally, don't make up your legislation in cases. I hope this helped, and good luck in your HSC year.